Recently, I was on a podcast called The Marathon Podcast, hosted by a Norwegian, Christian Warwick. Now, if you guys haven't heard of that, I'll link it in the description and you can check it out after this video. But in that talk, there was a number of topics that I felt I only got to do like a surface touch. And so today, I want to go through those 7 topics in a bit more detail. Let's start off with my schedule. In the podcast, I talked about how I do all my training very early in the morning. But I don't think I talked specifically about why I do that. After 3 p.m, my son is all on me. I pick him up from school, I then have a play with him, make sure he has some snacks and then dinner. But basically from 3 p.m. onwards, I'm very much preoccupied. Now, in order to make sure I do finish by 3 o'clock, it means I basically have to start work at 7. Now, in order to start work at 7, when I work from home, I have to finish by 6. So it gives me an hour to basically get ready for the day. And when I have to drive into the office, I've got a 100k commute. So I need to make sure all my training is done by 5 a.m. And if I need to be done by 5 or 6 a.m, it means I need to be up in time enough to actually do the session. So if I'm doing an hour and a half, plus a warm up and cool down, basically means I got to start when I'm in the office, 2:45 a.m. and 3:45 a.m. when I work from home. Could I train in the afternoon? Now at this point in time, no. Because I'm on him basically after 3 o'clock, like until he's been able to occupy himself. Say he's doing his homework or he's watching TV or something, then maybe I could fit something in. But at this point in time, I don't have any free time between 3 o'clock and when he goes to sleep at like 7:30. If I were to do my training at 7:30, it means that I wouldn't get done until 9:30 to 10 o'clock. And then that means when you go to bed, it's more like midnight. And when you still got to get up at say 5 o'clock in order to get to work, midnight and 5 o'clock is not a great sleeping arrangement. So basically it's really got to the point that either I start my runs at 3 a.m. or I don't run at all. And at this point in time, I would rather run. Now let's talk about how many hours I can train per week. I did a whole video on this last week or a couple of weeks ago, so make sure you check that out if you want a full deep dive. But basically I train to time, not distance. I have an hour and a half free in the morning, so I run for an hour and a half. I don't have like time for a 10k, because who knows what a 10k could be. Is it an easy 10k, or is it like an interval 10k? Is it tempo? Like all of that is different paces, which means different times. And so that's why I focus on time, not distance. Now I'm currently averaging about 6 minutes 45 per K. That's warm-ups, warm-downs, workouts, easy runs, everything. Now ideally, I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing 4-minute Ks as an average for across the week, the month. But if I can get to 4 minutes per K and do 20 odd hours a week, that's about 300k running. I think I can get to that pace in about 2 to 3 years. In terms of the time though, I'm currently doing, well, I'm a bit injured at the moment. I'm doing about 5-6 hours, but prior to this, probably 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, I was doing 10 to 12 hours, which is still significantly short of the 22 hours in my calculation. But that's what I've got. I've got factoring in once my son goes to school, once he's a bit older, and doing his homework. As I said in just a bit earlier, when he's a bit more free, I can do doubles. And I think I can peak my weeks about 22 hours a week, giving me 300k. Now, volume is king. The more work you can do, the more distance and time you can do, the faster you'll be. Now, a lot of the pros are only doing 12 to 15 hours, and I want to do 22. I want to do more than them because I need to. They're already at the level where they could qualify. I'm not. So not only do I need to get to that level, I need to get to that level and be able to beat them. So I need to do more. The only way to do more and to get better faster is by doing more volume. Now I think cadence is a very important metric. Now I made a video on it and I'm not really happy with it. I actually had to make it twice. And yeah, because it's very nuanced. There's so many stuff to consider. But I think it's one of the things that you do need to consider if you want to be a faster runner. If you're running on a flat road, power and pace are comparable because it's just flats. But when the road goes up, you're going to be pushing more power for that same pace. If the road's going down, you're going to be putting less power and less effort into that same pace. When you multiply cadence by your stride length, let's say you got a cadence of 200 and a stride length of 1 meter, you get 200 meters per minute, or 5 minutes per K. When you're going uphill, as I said before, you can keep the same pace. But in order to go that same pace, you have to increase the power. Now, your cadence is not impacted by gravity, but your power is. And so if power goes up, it's not necessarily your cadence that changes. It's your stride length and how much power you put into each stride. In order to keep the stride length the same, you're going to need to put in more power and more force in order to keep moving at that same pace, because now you're fighting with gravity to keep moving. And so power, pace, stride length, and cadence are all metrics that are linked, but you can impact them separately. So you can change up your cadence and your stride length, have different numbers, but still at the same pace. You can keep the same pace, but if you go uphill, putting in more power. They're all linked, but you've got to factor them in separately. On the podcast, I talked about my marathon prediction time of about 3:50, and how when I started, I was looking at more like a 5:30. Now it's actually gone up more recently because I haven't been able to run properly for the last 6 weeks, and it's probably close to about 4:30. But what does this actually mean? Now, the predicted times, they're all well and good. I don't actually really care too much. I don't focus on what my first marathon time actually will be. Now, I plan to go hard. I'm not sure if I'll actually downgrade this Canberra Marathon, which is in 3 weeks today, to a half, and then upgrade my Brisbane half to a full. But whenever my first marathon is, I'm going there. Yes, I'm going to race hard, but I care more about the experience and doing the distance rather than being like, I need a specific time. That'll come later. I will get those times down, but it doesn't need to be in the first time. Now this year, 2026, I don't need a 3:50, 3:30 in order to keep my motivation up to continue. I just want to get a sub 5. I'm very sure I can do that, but that's all I need to do. Slow and steady progress. My marathon goals are very much long term. In 2027, next year, I just need to go sub 4. 28, sub 3. 29, sub 2:30. 2030, sub 2:15. And then in 2031, qualify. I've set my time and schedule and training that I think can get me to that level, slowly and steadily, consolidating the gains. I'm happy to go slow. I don't need to do a sub 2:10 in my first race. I've got till 2031 to do that. 6 years, 5 years, however long that is. I want to take my time and be consistent. The more consistent I can be in my training, the faster I will eventually get. I might not actually reach my goal, but I'll be closer by doing this consistently than by going hard and then giving up. On the pod, I talked about how I want to inspire others. This is not just running related, it's general life too. I'm a very strong believer in that if you have a goal you want to set out, whether that's work, family, sport, if you actually pursue it, you can achieve it no matter what that goal is. You might have to work harder than others. I'm not as talented as all these pro runners, but if you can work hard, there's nothing stopping in your way to stop you from actually achieving your goals. Most pro runners doing about 12 to 14 hours of running per week. And as I said a bit earlier, I don't need to match that. I need to exceed it. Now this comes for everything in life. If you want to be a doctor, but you've never actually done any chemistry or biology training or education, you're starting from zero. Other people might come from families of doctors and they've been chasing that their whole life. So you can't just sit on your laurels and be like, I'll do the class and be fine. You have to work harder. That comes to everything in life. If you have a goal, so other people are more advanced than you. Doesn't matter what it is. But if you realistically and actually put your mind to it, you put in the work, you'll get the result. That is my mindset. If anyone can work hard, you just have to work hard to do it. Now, what happens if I don't actually achieve my goal? Oh well, I'll be fitter, I'll be healthier, I'll be a better version of myself. There's no downsides to pursuing this goal. Maybe I spend a lot of money on gels and nutrition, on shoes, but I enjoy it. I enjoy running. So I might not get the end goal. It's not all about where you end up. Sometimes it's about the journey. The final thing I want to touch on is how I increase and get faster in my training. So in the podcast, I talked about how the basic thing I do is increase the treadmill speed by 0.1k per hour every fortnight. I do this for a number of reasons, but the big one is progressive overload. Now, I have 3 different types of sessions that I do. Obviously, you got your easy runs. I love a good long tempo. And then you got your threshold reps. Each of those work different intensity zones, and they all play a different role in your training. But at the same point in time, the body does not know the difference between 5 minutes per K and 4:59 per K. And so by increasing the sessions very slightly, once a fortnight, the body is slowly growing and adapting without actually knowing it's working any harder. And so this way, I'm able to increase my threshold without my body knowing I'm increasing my threshold. One thing I do find is the treadmill is pretty inaccurate. So for mine at least, for a set pace can vary by easily 10 seconds per K. So if you think you're doing, say 5 minutes per K, it might be 5:05, or could be 4:55, anywhere in between, who knows? And so by slowly averaging an increase of 1 to 2 seconds per K every couple of weeks, it's very much masked just by the variances in the treadmill. So you're getting faster, you don't know you're getting faster. And that's how you do it. Slow and steady progress, a couple of seconds every month. And after 30 months, so 30 weeks, end up being 1 minute per K faster. That's all I want to talk about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't seen the podcast that I sat with Christian Warwick, make sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.